All right. Hi, Andrea.
Hey, how are
Good.
you?
How are you?
Good. I'm here.
Good. Yeah, I can tell. So what we'll go ahead and do, so it is 9:30, so I will go ahead and get started with you briefly. If anyone comes in, then I'll try to give them a little bit of a backup of what we just talked about, but it's pretty straightforward, and hopefully anytime that anyone jumps in, I can also share the recording with them. So hopefully you and I can go through this together real quick. Give me just a
Awesome.
second. I'm gonna go shut the door. All right, let's see here. Okay, so the purpose of KWB Orientation is really just to show you KWB resources as a whole. And this website is specific to Keller Williams Valentine. So as part of that, there's a lot of resources on this website that are specific to you as an agent in our office. So we want you to be able to learn to navigate them comfortably and just kind of get a lay of the land. I'm going to minimize you here. Actually, I'll just move you over. Where we are right now is kwbresources.com. And this is going to kind of be like your go-to webpage, I think, beyond just a standard Keller Williams overall international website. So kwbresources.com, it'll be very friendly for you to use. The first thing I'm going to show you, this is just the homepage that pops right up as soon as you navigate there. The first thing I want to show is this new agent tab. So underneath this new agent tab, this is just going to be a lot of information that we think is incredibly relevant to you as a new agent. And again, obviously you're not limited to this tab. There's plenty of information on here. But on the left-hand side under getting started, one of the first things that we show you is actually a brief checklist that just kind of details onboarding. And I know that you're all the way through your onboarding, which is amazing. And we're super, super excited about that. But this does kind of give you a lay of the land in terms of what to expect, who you'll be hearing from, when you'll hear about things. But something I do like to share with everybody as well is that we do have things you can begin doing immediately. So in the event that you're feeling a little bit lost, or maybe like you're looking for a little bit added direction, some of the things you can start doing right away. One is obviously checking out the webpage and just getting comfortable using it. The other is attending office meetings, whether that's through Zoom like this or in person. So this is perfect. We have Ignite as well, which I believe that we've talked about. I sent you the after darks.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. Okay. If you need it again at any point, let me know because I will absolutely send it to you. But so
Okay.
Ignite's going to be great. And that just kind of gives you a foundation for your real estate career. And especially because I feel like the common thing that we end up hearing is that it's everything real estate school didn't teach you, but you thought you would learn. So it's the
Yeah.
open houses conversations. It's how to go from contract to close, how to get paid. So that's going to be a really, really great thing for you to be involved with. The next thing is joining our Facebook pages, which I think you're already a part of our
Mhm.
main Facebook page. We also have a vendor page as well that I'll share with a little bit about for you. And then attending office meetings, which we're already doing right now. So congratulations, you already got one off your
Thank
list.
you.
And then the last, yeah, right. And then the last here is registering your car with Torrington Preferred Parking. So if you ever
Okay.
plan to be here on a
Yes.
regular basis, I always recommend you just go ahead and use that link. It'll actually take you straight to Preferred Parking's webpage, and
Okay.
it'll have you create like a quick login. But it's super, super straightforward. We are building two. We're that yellow one, just so in case you are finding yourself doing this. But usually I recommend it, again, if you plan on being here on a consistent basis, it's very valuable. It's not necessary because we do have some visitor spots available. So if you're going to be here from time to time in the month, I wouldn't stress getting the parking pass set up.
Okay.
However, if you do want to be regularly, absolutely go ahead and do this just for the peace of mind.
Right.
And then the great thing too is that it does allow you to register up to 3 vehicles. So if you've got multiple vehicles in your household, ever worried that you might be taking one versus the other, you can register all 3 under one pass.
Okay.
And then when that pass is brought into the office, what'll happen is it will actually be left in the mail room here. And just to kind of touch on that, as part of your onboarding process, you do get a mail folder assigned to you. It'll
Okay.
have your name on it. So when you come in here, there's a room just to the right of the front desk. It's got a nice big purple wall, so it's easy to catch. And when you go in there, there's a series of filing cabinets that are alphabetized.
Okay.
by your last name. So any mail that's ever directed to the office, your parking pass included, you'll be able to find in that mail folder. And then if you have any packages that you ever direct here, they'll also be placed in there. And usually if it's a package, Sue will actually send you an email just to let you know that something's waiting for you in the mailroom.
Nice.
Yeah. So that's all just the parking information. And like I said, that was all just kind of under this one getting started tab. But on the right-hand side under basic training, if you were to click on the learn more button, this will take you to Scott Leroy's webpage. And Scott Leroy is the one who set up all of your tech for Keller Williams. So they're very, very knowledgeable and helpful, and they do much more than just setting up the tech. So a couple things, again, not that there's so much on here. I won't take up all your time on this website, but just a couple things to share is under agent resources and under training calendar. If you go here and you click and you enter in 350, because that is our market center number, and you'll see that number very, very often as you're part of the market center. So once you get in here, it'll actually take you to their live training calendar. So they do offer classes on Zoom from 1 to 2 every single Monday through Friday. So if you, yep. So on top of, obviously, we do offer a lot of classes here. But again, I know that sometimes it is difficult to make it to the office, especially if you've got another job going on. It just, if it's ever more convenient to you to be able to kind of do this a little bit more on demand, this is a really, really great opportunity. These are still live trainings, but they're in the afternoon, and they do touch on all different things. So Mondays, they're continually doing command overview, but they do also offer specialties where they're talking about smart plans or they're talking about Facebook, things like that. So if you ever want to try and find something that might be a little bit more suitable for your schedule, we do offer in-person and Zoom Tech Tuesdays, and that's from 1 to 2 as well on Tuesdays. But obviously, if Tuesdays don't work for you, you want to do a Wednesday or a Friday class, that's a really great opportunity for you.
Perfect.
And then, yeah, absolutely. So, and then a couple other things just really quickly to share. And I guess I'll try to keep it short and sweet. Under the store option here, if you go on to get your business cards, if you go on to get tags, go under the agent store. You are not limited to going through agent store. You're absolutely welcome to go through Vistaprint and something like that if you'd prefer to do something truly custom. But if you want something short and sweet and simple, you can go in. You'll go into the business cards. They do offer name tags. They do package deals as well. They've got so many pre-done templates that are already branded for you. It's as simple as just filling in a couple fields with your specific information, and it'll populate this new template. You can customize the finishes. You can customize the corners, things like that. So there's opportunity to still make it your own within a template that's already done, so it's faster for you to do. And they also offer a really great price point, because I think I was able to get 500 of my own for just $39.
What?
Yeah,
Wow.
that's the reaction I'm always looking for. I mean, people get excited, but they don't get excited like that. That's the good one. But yeah, so they do you can do 500 for $39. So if you're looking for a great price point, this is one I'd absolutely recommend checking out. And it's just through their store option under Scott Leroy. Of course, I just closed out of it for you. So it's literally just under store, and just click on that right there, and it'll take you where you want to go. It'll ask you what firm you're with. So you'll say Keller Williams, and then it'll ask you to either type in your market center name or number, and then it's the 350, and then it'll be able to show you. So I'll go ahead. Yeah. So all that's just under those first 2 tabs under the new agent button. A little bit further though, here are those Facebook pages, which I know we already said you're a part of this internal Facebook page here. We do also have another Facebook page here as well, and that's for our vendor program. So what we do as part of Keller Williams Valentine, we do have a vendor program, and it's built up of vetted vendors who've been used by our agents, and they've been reliable and amazing to our agents. So we've actually invited them to come be a part of our vendor program. So these individuals or these companies and people are so incredibly amazing, and they have decided to join part of our vendor program. So what that means is that you will be seeing them all the time. They will be involved in a lot of stuff. But if you're ever looking to, I know the rule is usually like the rule of 3 for quotes and ideas, things to present your client, right? So in those events, what I always recommend is if you're part of that Facebook page, it just makes it one step easier, because those vendors are all on there sharing promotions that they're offering, sharing opportunities that they have, talking about the services they offer, testimonials, things like that. So you'll see an entire Facebook page built up of these vendors and their interactions with our agents. So that's a really, really great page to be a part of. And then the internal one that you're already a part of is amazing, because it allows you to communicate with other agents, and it allows you to be aware of the events and the trainings we've got going on here, because we like to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
A little bit further down, And I know I go very fast. So
Oh,
if
no,
at
you're
any,
fine.
I was gonna say, if at any point I go too fast, please just tell me to slow down because
Oh,
I
no,
always
you're-
feel so bad at the end. Okay, so the next part here is colorisms. If you were to click on this, it's actually going to show you another PDF, and that just breaks down all the language that you'll be
Ooh.
hearing in Keller Williams, which obviously, if any of it's foreign to you, if any of it sounds like you might not fully understand, which I totally understand because I had this job and for several weeks, I was like, well, I don't know if I fully comprehend what we're talking about here. So if you're ever looking for some of those more Keller Williams specific terms, this is where it'll have a breakdown and put them into real world terms for you. So if you're wondering what command is, if you have questions about KWLS, this is where you can kind of find all of that information. However, you can always ask me if you've got any questions. You don't have to feel shy, but if you do ever feel shy, or maybe it's 3 a.m, this is a great spot to check out. Alrighty, so that's all under colorisms. And again, you might feel comfortable with all the stuff that you're hearing and not have any questions, and in which case you don't necessarily need to print off the form or even glance at it. But in case it helps, that's where it's there. But a little bit further down here, we do have access to this is kind of like more on-demand training for command, if you will. So answers.kw.com, if you were to click on this button here, it'll actually take you to a separate website. And it's built up entirely of frequently asked questions about commands. So and that kind of depends on your learning style, of course, if that's something that you think would be of value to you, it truly is endless in terms of the questions that they've got answered on there. So this is a great resource for you to use, again, in a pinch, if you are like doing a contract at midnight and you're not quite sure who to ask, how to do something, that's a great spot for you to look at. However, you're not limited to that. There's a ton of other training opportunities for learning our tech here, and I'll kind of explain that as we go through. But a little bit further, we do have some Ignite materials. However, those are also shared on the training calendar, and I'll show you that as well momentarily. And it does touch on it here, but I like to show you guys the most convenient way to access the information because there is several ways to pull to the same content on this website. So I'm just going to wait and show you the quickest and easiest ways. So that way, when you go on the website and that's exactly what you're looking for, you know the fastest way to get to it. So if we go a little bit further, though, still all under that new agent tab, there's information on booking conference rooms. So we do have about 6 or 7, and I will never get the number straight. I think it's 7 conference rooms here on this floor, and they're available to you at any time as an agent in our office. So even though you are not necessarily here during the day, if you wanted to use it in the evening, you're more than welcome to do so. I would just I'll need to get you a key fob, that's for sure. So next time you're in the office, let me know. I will get you a key fob. And it's as simple as we'll just activate it for the double doors downstairs because those will lock usually. I want to say it's like 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. They'll anytime after or before they will be locked. In which case you'll just wave that key fob. You will hear there's a little black box to the right of the door. You'll wave the key fob over it, the light will turn green, you'll hear it beep, and you'll be able to enter the building. And once you're in through the bottom, you will have access to the elevator. All of this floor is accessible to you. It's just those double doors downstairs that lock. So I will make sure to get you a key fob because I know that if you're here if you want to come in on the weekends, things like that, I've absolutely got you covered. But to that same point is if you're ever here after hours, you can absolutely use the conference rooms as well. We just usually prefer that you use the spreadsheet to schedule one. We do try to reserve these conference rooms more for coaching conversations, for client consultations, rather than just general privacy. If you do want general privacy, we've got plenty of cubicles. We've got the hub here with high top tables. So there's opportunities for you to still have that kind of quiet space to stay focused. But we like to keep those on rotation just because we want you to be able to use those and take your clients in and give them that extra element, right? So the spreadsheet here does have, once you click into it, and it's going to make me log in and everything, so I'm not necessarily going to get all the way through. But once you are in there, it will break down all 6, 7 of our conference rooms. You'll see the capacity that it can hold, and you'll be able to see the schedule for the entire day based off the time blocks. So if anyone's got it booked, you'll see it right then and there, and you'll know where you can drag and drop to put your own booking for. So super, super simple. But if you ever have any issues or difficulty trying to book one through the Sketa website, this is where that'll take you, then just reach out to me because I am an admin on that page. So I can always go in on my end and I can make sure that everything looks right. And then I can help you if ever there's an issue, I can help facilitate getting you that conference room.
Nice.
All right. So all of that, like I said, was just under the new agent tab. So there's a ton of information on this website. But just to kind of give you a little bit further, if we were just on that homepage, but back to just the homepage, you will see here, we've got all of our wonderful leadership team, their roles as well, and what their contact information is. So if you're ever wondering who to reach out to about anything, this kind of gives you a general idea of our directory for staff. But a little bit further down, Jules and Leah, our wonderful tech coordinator sisters, they do offer a lot of tech tips, and they do them in videos. So again, it's accessible to you at any time. So it's very helpful and convenient to your schedule, especially because even regardless of what your careers look like, as real estate picks up, you will be running around. So in that case, we want you to be able to access this information at any point that it's useful to you. So this is actually a Command and DocuSign ultimate overview. So it's one that I always recommend our agents check out, especially as you're first getting started, just because it's going to give you so much information about what you're going to be working with, and you'll kind of get to learn it ahead of time. So that's a great one to check out. But again, they've got so much great information on here as well. And I'll share that with you in just a bit. If you were to continue scrolling all the way down the homepage, you will eventually reach to the office calendar. If you don't want to do all that, all you have to do is click the office calendar tab and it'll drag you right here. So it just makes it a step faster. So this will basically overlay all of the trainings that we've got, trainings, events, fun gatherings, things like that will always be on this calendar. So, and it's for the entire month. If you're ever, okay, it's the 16th, maybe I want to start looking at March, maybe February, I know I'm going to be booked for, you can actually navigate at the top here using those arrows to get to the next month. And you'll be able to see all the trainings we've got going on then as well. And you'll see sometimes things will still populate, but right now I'm planning things out as far out as April. So we do have most of this stuff will stay the same. You might see one or two more trainings get added to it, but almost everything's already on here for you. But again, it's as simple as just obviously you see it kind of gets a little cut off here. So if you ever wanted to know, okay, well, what's this? So this is, if you click on it, it'll give you all the information you need. It'll tell you what the training is. It'll tell you when they happen. Little description, if there are any registration links that you need to use, that's where you can find it. But then if you see one, it'll tell you that there's no registration necessary. Sometimes flyers will be attached as well. So it's just helpful in order to kind of get an idea of what you'll be learning. And if that class would be something you're interested in trying or taking, just because maybe there's something to implement into your business. So this is chock full of amazing opportunities. I will say that a lot of them we are trying to steer towards in person. However, that doesn't mean that everything's limited to in person. So if you ever see a Zoom link, absolutely click on it. You can absolutely attend through Zoom. And normally if there is a Zoom link, we do set our Zoom meetings to automatically record. So if you ever notice that there's a Zoom link for something that you couldn't make, just please reach out to me and I can absolutely pull the recording. Assuming Zoom cooperated and I've got the full recording, I'll send it right to you so that you can have access to the information that they discussed, because I don't want you to miss out on anything. So always let me know if there's anything that you missed that you wanted to know, if there was something that I could get you as a recording. But just to kind of detail a little bit of those recurring meetings, things that you can expect. We do have ALC meetings every third Tuesday at 11, team meetings second and fourth Tuesdays at 11. And then we also have Tech Tuesdays every Tuesday from 1 to 2:30. So just a little bit of an idea so that in case you miss one, you know when you can expect the next. Although again, each of these, with the exception of ALC meetings, you will have a recording for those. And I'll show you in just a second how you can access our YouTube channel to view some of those. So if we scroll a little bit further, these are our wonderful BICs. We've got Miss Sabre, who is our true BIC, and we also have Miss Tasha Viney, who's our BIC associate. They are both phenomenal women who are very, very knowledgeable and very, very friendly and helpful. So if you've ever got any questions, please feel free to reach out to them at any point. Sabra, our broker in charge, is amazing. I swear there's not a thing that she doesn't know. And Tasha is equally knowledgeable. So if you're ever trying to reach them, what we always try to say is if you've got an administrative question or essentially something that is non-urgent, what we recommend is actually email this KW Ballantyne BIC Gmail, because it's actually monitored by both Sabra and Tasha. So they both have a set of eyes in there regularly throughout the day. So you have a higher chance of getting heard right away and responded to. And then if it's a hair on fire, oh my gosh, or a legal question, we always recommend reach out to Sabra directly at that point. But both of these wonderful women are here to help you. And Tasha is actually in the office Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays, and you can see her office hours are posted there. So if you're ever trying to meet with her to discuss anything, those are when you can expect her to be here. But she is very, very also accessible through phone. So always reach out to her if you need anything. And if you're ever looking for contact information for either of them, maybe phone numbers that aren't necessarily posted on the website, just reach out to me because I can get you that information as well. And just a little bit further, we have our wonderful Agent Leadership Council here. So these are some of our top producers in this market center who have volunteered a little bit more of their time to represent different committees here at Ballantine. And their commitment to Ballantine is to constantly be improving it, hearing agent feedback, and seeing what they can do to really embody the Ballantine difference. So that's something that we take very seriously, and we love trying to pour into our agents and do lots of fun stuff. So if you ever want to either meet with these people to have a conversation, even just email them, their emails are posted there as well. If you want to reach out just to hear what the conversations they're having, or maybe be part of their next meeting, that's a really great way for you to get connected. And like I said, these agents are all also top producers. So they've all got very successful businesses on their backs, and they're always happy to answer your questions. So if you've got questions and you're not sure who to turn to, but hey, like, I just saw Sharika in the hall. I bet you she'd answer my question. She absolutely would. They absolutely are here to help you. They're all very, very kind and happy. They just want to see you succeed as much as they can. So if there's anything that they can do to contribute towards that, they're happy to. So again, these are just individuals that you can absolutely be in contact with, and it tells you what committees they represent. So if you've got any questions or you're interested in learning about them, then that's who you can reach out to. All right. We do also have some productivity coaches here. So as part of onboarding with KWB, we usually give you your 3 pillars of mentorship as we kind of consider them, because collectively they really do encompass a great mentorship. But individuals, we do have, so your first pillar is going to be a productivity coach. So for your productivity coaches, these are our wonderful coaches in this office. And if you've got any questions about the coaching program, please let me know. I'm happy to get you connected with Michelle Amador. She is our head of the coaching program. But these individuals are great. They're absolutely here for you in supporting your business as you're getting started. So what their purpose is and what they are dedicated to doing for you is they're here to help strategize with you. They want a goal set. They want to get to know what you're trying to achieve. They want to help you to assess those goals, to reach those goals. So they're here to help you strategize and make sure that you're accomplishing and staying on top of that. And they are also here just to help hold you accountable, because a lot of what we see is that it's the inactivity that ends up not necessarily building momentum. But if you're doing the things, if you are working the work, then that's when you'll see all that business come flooding to you. So they're here to help hold you accountable. So if you say, I'm going to lead generate from 9 to 11 every day, they will hold you accountable. They will reach out and say, okay, so let's do it together then, 9 to 11, here we go. So they're great. They're amazing individuals. And if ever, I know scheduling wise, if you ever have any conflicts or you'd like to consider joining somebody else's, maybe that might be a better fit for you, whether that's compatibility or scheduling, always reach out to me. You can reach out to Michelle directly because she is the one who will inevitably end up doing that for you. However, if you want to reach out to me, I can put you in touch with Michelle. Whatever that looks like, I'm here for you too. But yes, productivity coaches are wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And we've got 5 amazing ones in this office. We also have our second pillar of mentorship here, which is your T group partners. So T group partners or transaction group partners are dedicated to helping you to familiarize yourself with the forms and the contracts that you'll be using in different transactions. So these again are our wonderful T group partners. They all will meet at different times. So again, if you have any scheduling issues at any point, let me know. I will get you in the right group that's going to be good for your schedule. But again, all of these individuals are absolutely amazing and incredibly knowledgeable, and they're dedicated to, they're actually going to chunk it down with you over weeks worth of content. And they do meet weekly. So you'll be able to kind of break it apart and just get really comfortable using those forms, because we want you to be as confident as possible, especially in that first transaction. So they're here to help. Absolutely. And they're here to answer questions. I actually always recommend, usually if you've got a question about a contract or a form, reach out to your T group partner first, because they usually will know the answer. And if they don't, they will tell you and say, actually, I think you should reach out to Tasha or Sabra, and then they'll direct you that way. But your T group partners are incredibly knowledgeable, and sometimes they're just quicker to respond. So we always recommend you start there, just because Sabra's got 500 agents she oversees. So sometimes it takes her an extra minute just to get back to you. And the third and final pillar of mentorship here as part of your onboarding is your first step partner. So your first step partner is really amazing, and they're here to help you with kind of more Valentine specific questions. So if you're looking to learn more about the office or the market center, you've got questions about specific things and kind of getting to know the flow of things, getting to know the structure, or just the lay of the land, literally, where is the bathroom kind of questions, they're going to be really, really helpful. And they're also here to check in on you as well in those first few weeks and first few months that you're in business. So what they'll do is they'll be calling you, emailing you, reaching out just to make sure everything's going well. Carrie, I know, actually does weekly phone calls to her people, and she knows that if she doesn't hear back from them, especially if she had to leave a voicemail and doesn't hear back, she goes, you know what? That just tells me that I know they're doing fine. They don't have any questions. So if that happens, that's fine too. But always return the call if you do have any questions, because they are here to help kind of give you some guidance in those first few months as well. And they will be sending you what's called a new agent 30, 60, 90 ramp up. And that's actually going to give you an overview kind of in Google Sheets. And it's all like your first 90 days here. So your first 3 months, it just gives you a series of tasks that you can be working on. Nobody's going to grade it, I'll be honest. So you don't have to worry or stress yourself over completing every single individual task, but it's there to give you a sense of guidance, especially in that feeling uncertain, feeling overwhelmed, anything like that in those first few months, just because it can be kind of overwhelming. It is a new kind of industry and it's very open-ended. So if you've got that questions or you're looking for clarity or kind of direction at any point, reference that 30, 60, 90, because it'll be really, really great and kind of pointing you in the right direction as to things you can work on to help get your business building momentum and get you into production. And just at the bottom here, we do have some helpful links and resources. They're also all shared up here in this top bar. So I'll just take us back up to the top real quick. So that was just all under the homepage, and I'm not going to necessarily go through every individual thing here because we could be here for hours. So under the FAQs, though, I will share just really briefly. If you are wondering who to reach out to about specific questions, this is just a point of reference, kind of a generalization. If you've got questions about compliance and you want to hover over, it'll tell you can reach out to Carla Kettler. It'll also tell you her contact information right there, so you know who you can be in contact with. Again, you can always come to me if you're not sure who to reach out to about something, especially if it's not necessarily specified in here. But if you've got questions about coaching, you can reach out to your coach. You can reach out to T group partners. It just kind of gives you that, again, direction when you're first starting out and not sure who to come to with specific questions. But we are all here to help you succeed. So if you've got questions, don't feel like you can't ask anybody, because we will put you in touch with who's got the right answer if it's not us. So under this on-demand training tab, you'll notice that it is password protected. So I'm going to read out the password to you so you can write it down. So it's going to be a capital B as in boy, lowercase a as in apple, M as in monkey, C as in candy, and then the number 350. And then once you type all that in, it will take you straight to our on-demand training. So this is going to be where I'll show you those YouTube channels I was referencing. And this, I think, is going to be really, really helpful for you. Just because, again, it goes with the flow of your life. It works for you. You don't have to worry about time blocking and trying to get away from other commitments, right? That's the big thing. So on the left-hand side under on-demand training here, if you click on on-demand, this will take you to our KW Valentine YouTube channel. So this is one that I actually update fairly regularly. I'd say every week, every 2 weeks, I'm on here regulating and updating the information. But this actually contains all of the recordings of your recurring training. So those Tech Tuesdays, KWB Orientation, team meetings, compliance orientation. And then we used to actually offer forums classes. So there's a little bit of information there as well. So if you want to ever kind of reference anything because you couldn't make it to one of those meetings or classes, you can find the recordings posted here, and then you can watch them at any time. So sometimes YouTube does not play super nice, and it does try to bounce some recordings back at me because their algorithm says that it violates something for some reason. So in that event, if you're ever on here and you're looking for something specific and you don't see it, just reach out to me, because I do have those recordings still accessible to me. I just wasn't able to publish them on YouTube for some reason. So do reach out at any point if you're noticing that something's not on there that you were looking for. But again, these are those recurring trainings that are offered through Zoom as well, because we have automatic recordings so that we can share them with you for on-demand activity. I will close out of this one, and I'm going to show you Scott Leroy's YouTube channel. It's actually on the command on demand side. So if you go over here, this video will play. So I'm going to try and pause it before it yells. Okay, got it. I don't always get it. So if you go to Scott Leroy's YouTube channel, this is where you can find like boatloads of tech training for on demand. So they've got stuff as simple as just tech tips that can vary from a couple minutes to 10 minutes long, usually not much longer than that range. But you can also go through and you can see, okay, an hour-long thing on how to do Facebook ads, like that's amazing. So there's so much opportunity for you to dive into specifics of tech trainings, whether that's digital marketing, whether that's your command profile, how to work that, whether it's DocuSign, things like that. But there's all that information and more. They do have my command overviews here. So they basically will post all of those live trainings as well, so that you can go back and watch them. So you can see, and it'll tell you right there, you can build your brand, marketing with KW Command and campaigns. So there's like so much information on here. I can't stress that enough. So if you are looking for any tech training, and again, it's just not convenient to your schedule to make it in for a Tech Tuesday, or maybe even so, I just would prefer, I'm like trying to sit down and do this thing with Command, but I can't do it until Sunday. I would like to try to learn ahead of time. This is a great spot for you to check because it is very tutorial style. They'll walk you through it by sharing their screen. So if that's something that you know that works well for your learning style, then please utilize it as often as you'd like. Again, there's no pressure to utilize any of these resources, but we want you to know that where they are, because they are available to you if you think that they're going to be beneficial to you. So this is a great one to get familiar with. And then we just do have a little bit of a blurb about Ignite. So if you've got any questions and just kind of want to know like a general gist, this is where you can learn a little bit more about Ignite. And then under the Office Resources tab, this one again will be that password protected tab. It'll be the same password I just gave you. So you just keep that one at hand for any reason. But under Office Resources, you'll see here we do have the advertising guidelines. So if you're having any questions about what is legally allowed or what is legally required for me to put on specific things for marketing purposes, you can reference the advertising guidelines because it'll specify a lot of that information. But of course, if you've got any questions, we always recommend just reach out to Tasha and Sabra because they'll be able to give you some insight on that. We also have the do not call list. So if you are looking to get registered for that, which we always recommend that you do, because that's a biggie, go to the do not call list. There'll actually be a whole step-by-step breakdown instruction of how to get yourself signed up with that. And I'm not going to go through all that part, but I will just click on the tab to get you in there. Again, it's at BAMC 350. And once you're in here, what I will show you is that this is a spot where you can access a lot of forms. So on the left-hand side here under general forms, if you're North Carolina licensed, which I know you are, so North Carolina forms will be posted here. Now, these aren't going to be every form that you'll need. However, it is a Google Drive form, a Google Drive folder of forms that are KW Valentine specific. So any forms that reference partnerships that we have that you need to disclose to clients, any referral forms, any kind of disclosure, addendums, things like that are specific to Keller Williams Valentine as opposed to being a state form. This is where you can find that information. And again, it's all just in this Google Drive folder, and it's as simple as kind of clicking on it and dragging it down. We also have some nice from walk-in to final walkthrough. So just kind of breaking down what you're going to be doing. So just a lot of help, especially in those first few transactions as you're getting comfortable. It's not quite muscle memory yet. We want you to have access to a lot of this information. So this is a great spot for you to check. If you go on to become South Carolina licensed, you'll just click on this right-hand button, and that's where you can find the same for South Carolina. But if you're looking for those state forms, where you will find those is usually there's two places. One, they typically will populate in DocuSign for you automatically. It's just making sure that your NERDS number is programmed into your profile. If it is not, and you're noticing that those forms aren't coming up, I would recommend reach out to Jules and Leah. They have a video that they can share with you that shows you how to get your NERDS number programmed in. So if you haven't done that already, you might even just want to reach out to ask, but that's a really, really great thing to get done. So you don't have to stress when you do have that buyer and you're like, okay, wait, I don't have time for this. And then the other thing to note as well is that if you don't go through DocuSign, you also can find a lot of those forms, if not every form, through Zip Forms, and that's through Matrix in Canopy. So when you're in your Canopy profile and your Matrix profile, you'll scroll down, and I believe it's towards the bottom right, you'll see something that says Zip Forms. Click on it, and that's where you can find a ton of those forms as well. And then here in the middle, under the Office checklist, if you were to select the Get Checklist option here, it's going to take you again to another Google Drive folder. However, this one is actually entirely just checklists, and this just walks you through every possible side of every possible transaction for North and South Carolina. So if you're doing a North Carolina listing for the first time, this is kind of going to just show you, okay, this is what I need. This is when it needs to be happening by, and it breaks it down again. So since it's not quite muscle memory just yet, it's just that extra layer to give you the confidence you need to be successful and go through it super smoothly, start to finish. So reference these were actually made by Sabra. So they were something that she felt that would be beneficial to agents, especially as they're getting comfortable and getting started. So use them as often as you'd like. Again, there's no requirement to reference them. However, if you want to at any point, I mean, literally, she's got everything on here. There is North Carolina listing, rentals. She's got buyers, South Carolina sides of everything as well. So utilize these if you think that that's something that would benefit you, because we absolutely want you to feel as comfortable as possible. All right. So all that, yeah, right. I know. Sabra's great. She goes the extra mile all the time. So all of that is kind of where you can find the gist of what we just discussed, forms, checklists, things like that for those first few transactions. But if you go a little bit lower, we do have the CE shop. We do partner with the CE shop. So through that, we do have several discounts that are offered to us. We actually also partner with Superior School of Real Estate and get a discount with them as well. And I'll show you how you can access that. This will show you those discounts. If you were to scroll, you can see they'll always have something going on. I've seen them go as high as 50% off as well. So you right? So, and anytime that there is a discount going through the CE shop, I always post it to Facebook the day that it's active. So go to the Facebook pages and check, because they will always be posted first thing in the morning, and you'll be able to utilize that code all day long if you want to try and get anything underway. But they show you the breakdown. But a couple of things that I like to point out and why I show you this in general, two things is one, especially if you're ever going on to become dually licensed, if you want to go get that South Carolina license and maybe, okay, so I don't know if I've got the time to commit to in-person learning regularly, and I don't know if I've got the time, honestly, even to do Zoom. If you want to dabble and see if self-paced would work really well for you, they do offer a free trial with self-paced. So they let you go, right? So that was something really unique to CE Shop in my experience. So it lets you do a full week of self-paced where you can just trial and error. If I like it, amazing. You can commit right then and there at the very end of the trial. If you don't like it and you're like, yeah, I definitely learned from this that it has to be in person for me, then you can walk away and there's no skin in the game. It doesn't harm you in any sense. So it just, again, it gives you that opportunity to try before you buy, right? So that's a really, really great one. And they do offer that free trial for South Carolina, but they do offer pre-licensing, exam prep, post-licensing, continuing education. There's a ton on here. So feel free to
ask you about that, because I was like, oh my God, I'm due for my post-licensing. Like, I need to do that.
Yes, check this out, because they do have post-licensing available through CE Shop. They do offer discounts as well. I know one is supposed to go live. I want to say it's the 22nd next week. You'll see one posted to the Facebook page. And I don't remember what the discount was. It might have been 40% though. So definitely, yeah, I was gonna say worth looking at. And so this one is great because of all of the greatness that it offers. The next thing I'll show you under here is under the Agent Essentials. And this is a little sidebar. So Agent Essentials here, if you go through, it's an entire e-library of blogs, podcast videos, things like that. So if you want to share and diversify anything that you're doing on your digital marketing through social media, this is a really great that you could literally just drop a link to it. It helps to navigate additional traffic to your page sometimes, but also it's just a way to kind of keep things fresh and interesting on your page. It's not everything's the same, you know, you're not going to get bored. You'll be excited that she's sharing something new today. So, and this is great because there's stuff on here that's purely informational and it's talking about maybe what the market's doing right now. However, there are also ones on here that kind of offer a slight different approach, which is just kind of like funny. It's humor. So like DIY, did you do this? So it's just kind of like there's different things on there that you can post to just make it fun. And it's just a library that's accessible to you at all times. So use it as much as you'd like to, because again, you don't have to share it. You don't have to learn from it yourself. But if you want to, it's there for you. And that makes it easy because you don't have to go hunting at all. So I'll close out of here real quick. And I'm just going to point out as well that we do offer the Superior School of Real Estate discount too. If you click on that, it'll take you to that website where you can take advantage of this as well. So if you do need post-licensing through Superior, you can also access that if you want to try and take advantage of a discount, because they've got 30% off too.
Liz, does that So when I started, you know how you get the pamphlet, the folder with the
Mhm.
Keller books?
Yeah.
Is that already like factors that in, or is that separate?
So the Keller Cash, you mean?
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
the Keller Cash is actually separate. So Keller
Really?
Cash, yeah. So Keller Cash is going to refer to pre-licensing only.
Okay.
So for your pre-licensing, up to your, I think it's in your first two transactions, you can get up to $500 back reimbursement for that pre-licensing.
Hmm.
So I will send you, I do have some criteria for that, just so you can get like the full
Yeah.
kind of scope on that. I will
Okay.
send it to you, and I'm just going to write that down real quick.
So
Um,
that could go towards like me getting my South Carolina license.
yeah, I believe so.
Okay.
I would definitely check the criteria on that just to make sure, because that one I'm a little less familiar with. And I know that with South Carolina, you can do the reciprocity with that as well within a certain range of time. So you might not even have to pay to do the classes the same sense.
Okay.
You might just go on to
Gotcha.
take the exam.
Okay. Oh
So
yeah. Yeah.
So if you do it that way, then you wouldn't necessarily need to apply it to that. But however, it still can apply to that North Carolina one. So if I think the way that we did it was any license, it was like 2022. If you got your license in 2022 or later, then you were good. Did you get your license 2022, 2023?
I got it in November 21. So I think I might be
21. Okay. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. So maybe the Keller Cash might not quite apply, but you definitely, but still worth a
okay.
conversation with Teresa. So
Yeah.
please do have a conversation with her about it if you're interested in it. And I'll still send you the criteria just so that you're aware of it and can kind of see the breakdown. But regardless, you can definitely take advantage moving forward of all of these discounts for the post licensing, for CE courses, things like that. And if you want to go on and do the exam prep for South Carolina through CE Shop, you've got that too. So we'll make sure that you get your money back some way. We're going to do that. So there's a lot of opportunity for that to happen though in those next couple months, years. So please
Yeah.
utilize those discounts as often as you can. Share them with other people that you're trying to invite into the real estate,
Yeah.
trying to invite to KWB. You can share them. They're absolutely a great tool to use. And then just a little bit further, the floor plan is posted here. It's never really been used, I will say, in my experience. I don't know that any agents have ever printed it off, but if you ever find yourself looking to try and figure out the lay of the land, it is a figure 8 shape, so I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to pull it up and try to understand where things are in here. But that's where you can access the floor plan. This is one giant button. And then at the bottom here are numbers to know. So say we do go on to get the South Carolina license, when you're filling out that application, you will probably need our firm license number, and that's posted right there. So things like that. We've got firm license numbers, Canopy MLS ID numbers for the firm. We've got BIC license numbers. So lots of information here if you do find yourself needing it. And again, if you do not have this access to this information, or you can't remember where you found it, always reach out to me, because I will gladly go hunting for you if you need me to, because you couldn't find it. So just reach out. But yes, this is where you can find a bulk of those numbers that you might be finding on different contracts forms, things like that. So that's a great one. That's all under office resources. We did talk about the office calendar as well. And then if we go here under the tech resources, I'm not necessarily going to click on too many of these. I'm just going to kind of talk about them a little bit with you. So for tech resources here, we do have the Tech Tuesday calendar. It's all factored into the office training calendar, so you can see it there. But if you wanted to just see their broad scale, like overview of what they'll be doing in the next 10 weeks, that's something you can preview there. If you were trying to chunk down setting up your marketing profile, I know, again, sometimes it's hard to find like 3 to 4 hours or however much time to dedicate to something like that. So if it makes more sense to you and your schedule or your comfort level to break it down, Marty Miller for Teams is a 66-day YouTube challenge. It breaks it down for you into tiny little bits of information. I don't think any of his videos exceed 10 minutes long, and it shows you like step by step, just small things you can be doing. And at the end of the 66 days, you've got your completed marketing profile. So Marty Miller for Teams is amazing. Very, very helpful. Again, if it's beneficial to you, please use it. And then we do have another access point to answers.kw.com. We do have the pivot shift ahead. I believe this is going to take us to the Facebook. Oh, that one's going to make me log in. But so the pivot shift ahead, though, that is something that James Shaw does. He's amazing. He is so knowledgeable, and he's been through the shifts before. So if you're looking for information on how to navigate a shifting market, highly recommend that. He's actually got a Facebook group as well where he does morning calls. So if that's something you're interested in, just look up Pivot Shift Ahead on Facebook and you can find his Facebook page. You can access his calls. He goes live on Facebook every morning. Access to Scott Leroy Marketing, access to KW Command. Under the helpful links, though, a couple things to know. One, we do have ALC meeting minutes. So if you do miss that ALC meeting at any point, and like I said, we don't have recordings for those, you can still reference the meeting minutes. So you can see what the decisions that they had, the conversations they had, the decisions they made. You can have an idea of what's going on and updated with Valentine. So that's a great thing. It's all in a Google Drive folder again, so super easy to use. We also have a prayer request form. So of course, you can always reach out to me directly, reach out to anyone on the staff directly if you'd like to. But if there's ever anything going on in your life, we would love to know, just because we do value you. We do see you as family and we take that seriously. We want to make sure you're well and that everything's going all right for you. If there's ever anything not okay going on, let us know so we can be there for you, support you. We also, the great thing about KW, we do have KW Cares, which is a kind of a fundraising and charity organization that they put together, in which case they do pour that money back to, all the donations go back to the agents in need. But we also have a KW Cares just on a Valentine level too. So anything that you ever see that's getting donated to KW Cares, all of that is in a pool of funds that we've got available. So if somebody ever was truly struggling in our office, we've got that so that we can give back to them to help them in those times of need. So please, yeah, we take it serious. We care.
Yeah.
So if there's ever a time that you find yourself in that position, or you know somebody who is in that position that maybe just doesn't feel comfortable voicing it, just let us know, because we're here for you and we take that seriously and we want you to be as successful as possible, but really just we want everything to be all right. So let us know. The next thing I will talk about, kind of similar, just trying to help you, KW perks. I'm not sure if you have insurance policies already set up for yourself through your other job, through anything. If you do, amazing. If not, I know independent contracting, it can look different. You don't necessarily get those benefits. But KW perks, if you go here, it will take you to a website. KW is partnered with, I can't quite remember who it was, but they have partnered with insurance agents and things like that. So we can actually help you to get discounts on those marketplace rates. So if you're looking at all to switch it up, if you need to check for a new policy, update anything, you can shop around basically like marketplace. And they said, I think on average, I hope I'm not misquoting it, I think it was like on average agents were saving 30% though. So really, really great opportunity for you if that's what you're looking for. So if you need to set anything up, I would stop here first. We also do, like I said, this is access to both of those discount codes for school, access to Kellerisms, scheduling a conference room. This is probably the easiest way to do it. It's just go under the helpful links. You would click schedule a conference room. It'll take you right where you need to go. And then the one right beneath it, strategic vendor partners, I will click on real quick for you. So strategic vendor partners. If you click on strategic vendor partners, it's going to take you to all of those preferred vendor partners I mentioned to you earlier that are on that Facebook page. If you, holy crap, I am not on the Facebook page and now I'm in the middle of a negotiation, I just need to know some vendors. That's okay. You can access them through this spreadsheet. They're all organized by their industry or their field. You can see who our points of contact are, who they work for, what their contact information is, their website, their services that they offer, all of that information. So if you are looking for, you want to do some financial planning or offer that to someone you know, if you're looking for floor cleaners, handymans, things like that, that we do have all of these are our preferred vendor partners. Again, they're vetted by our own agents. So we know that they're great. They do amazing work. And we've got tons of home inspectors. So again, if you need to get connected with anybody, especially as you're starting out, you never know if you sometimes you just don't know that you don't know an electrician until you realize you don't know an electrician. So in those situations, please reference this. Please reach out to these individuals because they're amazing and very helpful. But you also will notice that like landscaping services, we only have one listed here, but we do have 5 available spots. So if you ever work with somebody that you love and you think that they would love to be part of KWB vendor program, because that, again, that puts them in front of 500 agents. if you think that that's something that you guys would enjoy, like kind of working out amongst yourselves, you can absolutely recommend vendors to us, and we will reach out to them to communicate with them about the program and the opportunities here at KWB. So in that event, I would actually have you connect him with PJ, who's an agent in our office. He's kind of helping us to connect with our vendors right now. And his business cards are up at the front desk. But again, if you ever need his contact information, all you have to do is ask me and I'll be able to shoot it over to you. But again, we do have tons of amazing like vendors already on here. But if you're ever thinking, I know somebody else who's amazing that I want to see at KWB, just let us know, because we're happy to have that conversation with them. So tons of people on here though. I will go ahead and close out. But back still under helpful links, we were just down here at the strategic vendor partners. We also have the Think Like a CEO podcast. That's actually something Gary Keller does himself with Jay Papasan, another high up individual at Keller Williams. So again, if you're a podcast person, you want to get your mindset right, you want to be thinking business mindset, great podcast to recommend. They have an entire season just dedicated to like financials. So they really do a great job with it. If you're looking for any Keller Williams books, you can absolutely go to Keller Inc. However, we also have some for sale in the Market Center. So whatever you think is easiest for you, utilize however you'd like. And then Outfront Magazine, I do like to talk about just because Outfront Magazine is pretty great. So if you think that at any point you do really want to have a heavy social media presence and do a lot of digital marketing, which is very common, I recommend check out Outfront Magazine. So just like a magazine, they do publish monthly. It is digital, so you can access it just by clicking on it. But what they do is they release a calendar for the entire month, every single month, and every single day on that calendar, it gives you an idea of something you can post. So that you literally, so it's just a rainy Tuesday, Liz, I don't know what to post. That's okay. Outfront Magazine will literally tell you what to post. So
That's
it's
cool.
great. Yeah, so it's great. So there's obviously, if you already kind of have ideas of what you want to be sharing, do that. But in a pinch, if you're like, shoot, I don't know what I'm going to share today, and I want to keep it active, I want to be in front of people every day, they'll always have a suggestion of something to share. So that's a great one to reference in those events. And then also the other thing I was going to say is scheduling time to meet with Jules and Leah, our two tech coordinators. So Jules and Leah are phenomenal because not only do they know the tech like the back of their hands, they both actually started with Scott Leroy. So they have a ton of background just by working with Scott Leroy. So they're super, super knowledgeable just from that alone, on top of all the other amazing stuff that they offer. They also do offer concierge marketing services. So as you grow and if you start realizing, hey, I want to leverage some of this, I don't necessarily want to have to worry about sending out my postcards myself, I'd like someone else to do that for me. They do that. So if you want to meet with them about that, if you want to meet with them just to have a general conversation about working command basics, they're here for both conversations at any point. But if you are looking to schedule time with them, it's as simple as just clicking that I need tech help button in the top right. If you click on it, it drops you directly on their Calendly link, and it shows you all of their availability. You can book 30 minutes of time with them just to have a consultation. 30 minutes of time with them anytime that they are available. And then when you click on it and you confirm it, it'll ask you for your name, email, but it'll ask you if you want to do it through Zoom. So you can do it through Zoom, so you can still take advantage of that 30 minutes. So you don't have to necessarily be in the office for it. But if you'd rather meet here, you can meet here too. And then you can also make a note about what you want to talk about so that they can adequately prepare ahead of time and be ready to have that conversation with you. So just amazing. I will say, just as a sidebar, incredibly helpful. So if you've got any tech questions, absolutely go to them. But again, just with the volume of agents, and there's only 2 of them on that team right now, there actually is an automatic email responder that'll come out from them that just says within 24 hours, you will hear back from them, which is true. They are phenomenal about that. However, in the event that you're like, oh my gosh, in a pinch, I need help within like 10 minutes, reach out to Scott Leroy directly at support@scottleroy.com, because support@scottleroy.com or scottleroymarketing.com. Yeah. support@scottleroymarketing.com. They actually have part of their team. They actually sit there and monitor the emails. Like that's what they're doing. So with Scott Leroy, you get responded to within 10 minutes. So you will hear back from them right away. So again, in a pinch and you need help with your technology, you need help updating something, have a question, why is something not linking correctly, reach out to Scott Leroy directly, because they're phenomenal. They will get back to you right away, and they are constantly already on it, working on the issue at hand. So really, really great resource. But again, Jules and Lee are phenomenal. But again, in those 10 minutes of time, kind of heated moments, hair on fire, go to Scott Leroy, but otherwise always go to Jules and Leah because they're in-house. So they're super friendly. They want to get to know you. They want to know how they can help you. So whatever works best for you, based on the situation that you're in, those resources are all available to you. And then I think that is kind of the whole scale of KWB resources. Obviously, there are things that we did not get to discuss just yet, and that's okay, because I want you, if you want to keep diving into this, I want you to be able to do that on your time. I don't want to take up too much of yours, but I know that sometimes it's hard to like walk away from all of that information with questions. So if that's kind of the situation that you're feeling like you're in, I always recommend go home and just kind of walk yourself through it, see what you remember of what we discussed. But if there are any questions that you've got right now, I'm happy to answer them.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do. I was going to play around with the website more. And then if I have a question, like, Liz, help.
Yeah, no, and that's perfect. I'm happy to do that.
I know when we were doing my onboarding, sorry, I'm a little under the weather. Sorry if I sound groggy.
I'm
a little under the weather. Allergies, so I'm just like sneezing. So I'm like,
I know, I hate that. And then you're like, everyone looks at you and you're like, no, I swear, it's just me.
It's just a common cold, I promise.
Yeah, exactly.
But I was going to say, when we were doing the onboarding, I know you wanted me to upload a headshot. I actually just got pictures taken with Paul.
Yay, Paul Bosco?
Yes.
Yay.
Yeah. So I actually have those now. Do you want me to email them, or is there a way I can just go into the portal to upload it?
So what I would recommend, honestly, there is a way for you to go ahead and upload it. However, I would recommend just reach out. Do please send me still a copy, because I do like to say like, welcome to KWB.
Aww.
So that way I can post it to Facebook. I can put it on my wall over here. So yes, if you could still send it to me, that'd be amazing. However, if you do want to send the headshot, send it to support@scottleroymarketing.com. If you send it to them and just say, hey, I just got my headshot updated. Would you mind adding this across like all of my marketing profiles? They'll get your command, they'll get your white pages, they'll get your website. They will put it everywhere for you. So it's consistent across the board. You don't have to worry, because I know sometimes it's easy and you can just upload it like super easy through your profile in the upper right corner. But sometimes something's linked to another website somewhere. And that's where it gets a little confusing for us. And it's like, I don't understand why it's not this simple, but they know that, and they can make sure that it's going all the places it needs to go. So I'd rather them do it. Yep. I was going to say and that's the great thing about Scott Leroy is you can just say, hey, would you do this for me? And all you need to do is tell them like what your login information is, and they can do all the things for you. So either you attach that information or you just copy and paste, here's my username, here's my password based off of what they sent you. Then that's all they need. They'll log in as you and they'll do all the things for you. So it's great. Yeah. So yeah, they're great.
I am really excited. Like I'm ready. So I'm definitely gonna play around with the website, and I want to definitely do some more in-person things. I can just actually just talk and meet people directly.
We would love to have you here for that.
Yay! So I'm excited, but I'm definitely going to look around on the website, and I will send that picture to you momentarily.
Okay, perfect. So really quickly, I'm trying to see it. I think she is supposed to jump on. We usually on the second orientation of the month, we do have a special guest that jumps on. It's Carla Campbell with Heritage Title, which is a title company that we do have a partnership with here at KWB. If she does come on, she usually comes on towards the end because she doesn't want to have to sit through orientation, which is okay. But so if she does come on, she'll just share a little bit of information about title insurance with you. So she'll have some information to share on that if you're able to still stick around for a little bit longer and hear that. She's got a ton of information. I do have physical folders here of her amazing information as well. So next time you're in the office, I can give you that, but I also have it digitally, so I can send it to you, whatever is easiest for you.
Sounds good.
Yeah. And then so I will actually, Carla, when you are ready to go, you are welcome to take over. And I'll try and make you a co-host real quick so you can do your screen share nice and easy. And you can talk to Miss Andrea.
Hi, Carla. How are you?
Hey, Andrea. How are you?
Good.
Good deal. I'm going to share my screen now. So let me know.
Yeah, please do.
Move it over.
I'll stop mine so that you can do yours.
Awesome.
There we go.
Here we go. And I'm going to do the slideshow version. So I'll do a little bit of intro first. Andrea, just so you know who I am. I think she was doing that as I jumped on. So
Yes, yes.
yeah. So yeah, I'm the agency marketing officer for Heritage Title. And basically, I work with, we just added our 10th market center across North Carolina. And North Carolina is a bifurcated state for title, which means that the attorney does the closing and they do the title search because that's considered practice of law in North Carolina. But then separately, the buyer has a right to pick their own title company. By default, a lot of people just let the attorney choose, but it's really the buyer's decision. And on the professional disclosure, professional services disclosure, we really should be filling that out for title separately from the attorney because the buyer does have that right to choose. So in North Carolina, the way that it works is that at the beginning of the process, when you first start talking to your client about all the different folks that they want to work with, one of the things that you need to talk about is title insurance. And in that folder, there's some brochures that Liz can provide to you electronically, like she mentioned. And so those are very valuable resources, and I highly recommend getting extra copies so you can put them in your buyer's packets or just sending them to your clients electronically. It's a difficult topic to speak on, but it's very important that they understand that the title, and we're going to get to that in a minute, protects their ownership and right to ownership of the home. So and then the other reason I bring it up is because the attorney will mention it at closing, and it will be on the good faith estimate from the lender and then on the settlement statement unless the buyer opts out. And it's super important, though, that you've had sort of that preliminary discussion with them because they do get to pick both. We're going to go through some other things, sort of some background about what title insurance is and why it's important. And then about once a month, I'm also doing a more extensive training on title insurance, and it's open to everyone, but it's geared towards new agents. This month, it's next week, and it will be exactly the same as today. And next month, it will be longer. I just ran up against a conflict next Thursday. So it's going to be, so next week, it's not a great time for you to come because you'll have already seen it. But the month after, it's always, I believe, the fourth Thursday. And so it's on the calendar, and Liz has got it. She's great. She's got it on the calendar. So you can come because we're going to do a little bit more in depth. Most months I'm going to do like an entire month. I'm going to also talk about why surveys are important, and because you don't get any survey coverage in your owner's policy if you don't get a survey. So, and a lot of folks don't talk to you about that. And so it's super important. And now that things have calmed down a little bit, people are able to get surveys again, like in a timely manner. They were able to get them before, but it was taking like 3 months. So, which is not very helpful when you're trying to close in 45 days. So, okay. So I'm going to I've shared my screen. So I'm going to do the slide mode now. And since it's just us, if you have any questions as I go through it, don't hesitate to interrupt and ask. So, all righty. Okay. Here we go. All right. I think I need to switch screens to get I'm going to stop sharing and reshare for a second so it'll get pick up the right screen. All righty. Okay. How's that? Can you see the slide version now?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. All right. So page down. Okay, so what is title insurance? It's basically the protection against any defects that would affect the title to the home, or if it's a business, if it's a commercial property, when person buys property. Because basically what happens is the seller conveys, and it's supposed to be clean title, clear title, to the buyer through the deed at closing. And that's why the attorney's doing that search, is they're making sure the title is clean. So the things that you have to worry about are like hidden defects in the title or mistakes in a document, like in a will, a mortgage. In North Carolina is a deed of trust state, which is the same thing as a mortgage. It's just the foreclosure process is different. So I don't know if you remember that from real estate school, but we're a deed of trust state. And then
Yes.
sometimes there's pretty serious, I know that was a while ago. There's a lot of information. So, and then the biggest place I see mistakes are in the deeds. People's names will be spelled wrong. Their marital status will be wrong. The legal description might be wrong. It's really bad when you buy a house and the legal description's wrong, because then you really bought something different than what you thought you were under contract for. So it's kind of, I've seen it happen. It's sad, but it does. So, and then there just some things that are hidden defects, might be like fraud, and you have no way of knowing until the issue like comes out. So even if you do a title search, until this other person who's committed the fraud, until it manifests itself, it may not necessarily show up in a search. So these are the things that title insurance covers that you wouldn't even find any other way. So that you really kind of have to have this abstract title insurance out there for these issues. So, all right. Okay, so why it's so important. In the United States, buying a home is one of the biggest investments that anyone makes, basically in their entire life. Even though it's they're not gonna, unless they're buying a business or some kind of commercial property for a business, usually their home is the most expensive thing that they buy. And a number of people put down at least 20%, and right now we have a ton of people paying cash. So it's even more important to have title insurance, because their whole entire investment is at risk, because if they don't get title insurance. And if a claim is made against the property, the title insurance is going to save time and money, because it's going to come in and represent the buyer in case of a claim, and then pay out if it's a legitimate claim. It's also going to pay for attorney services if attorneys have to be hired, which is usually the case if it's a complex claim. And the one thing I like to point out is title insurance sometimes ranges between, depending on the sales price, between $400 and $2,000. But if you had to hire an attorney at $400 an hour, you'd only get, it's 5 hours of an attorney versus $2,000 for a policy. Is probably going to take you 500 hours if you had some kind of really significant claim with an attorney. And so just super important reasons. And North Carolina, I like to throw this out, is probably, I think from what the research I've done, it's about the 5th cheapest state in the country for title insurance. And if a person has an owner's and a lender's policy, you get a simultaneous issue discount on the owner's policy. And the lender's making you get a lender's policy for the loan amount. And then you get a discount if you buy them both at the same time. And it's not really broken out this way anymore, but basically the owner's policy is costing you your buyer about $150 if they get a lender's policy. So they literally kind of break it out 50-50 now between the lenders and the owners on the CD, but the way that it shows up in the back end is that basically it's costing them just that small amount. So if they're getting a loan and the lender's requiring a lender's policy, they should always get an owner's policy, because it's just kind of the cheapest protection that you can get. Okay, so just like to point that out. So who is covered? This is what I was just sort of indicating. If there's a lender involved and they're requiring a lender's policy, which they do on every closing, I think if it's unless it's less than $50,000. And then the lender basically makes you get a lender's policy based on the loan amount. And anytime you refinance, you have to get a new lender's policy. But the owner's policy is a one-time purchase and you never have to purchase it again. So it's very different than like homeowners insurance that you have to pay every year. It's a one-time charge. And it's good for the entire time that you own the property. And then once you sell it, because basically if the person behind you doesn't get title insurance and has a problem, they always look back in the chain for people who don't have title insurance, and they kind of come after them. So it's very important that your buyer get an owner's policy, because it will protect them for the purchase price. And more specifically, until they own it outright, it's protecting them for whatever they put down, their investment in the property. So as expensive as houses have gotten now, nobody, on a $500,000 house, somebody's putting $100,000 down at 20%. I don't know about you. I don't know a lot of people who want to lose $100,000 if it's a full claim. So, so it's super important. And like I said, for the cost, it's kind of a no-brainer. So a couple things really important. What risks are covered by title insurance? And there are some specific risk, but generally the 4 hidden risks that I like to point out, because these are the things that I was talking about with the hidden risk, is errors in the public records, like I just mentioned with deeds or the mortgages regarding names, signatures, or legal descriptions. So that, just because people are human and people make mistakes, and things can even be filed in the wrong place. So even though we're doing it electronically and not doing like the paper filing system that she has there, if a name is spelled incorrectly and then a document's filed then therefore in the wrong place because the last name is spelled incorrectly, it might get missed in the next title search and then cause a problem because there could have been a mortgage out there that had, $100,000 on it that doesn't get paid off at closing because it was misindexed. And then when the new buyer goes to refinance, it pops back up because someone did a better search. And there's ways we work around that in the search world, but again, people are human and mistakes are made. So then the other big one that you'll probably hear about the most are judgments. They can be from anything for child support to someone didn't pay a bill, like a medical bill. You see those a lot. Because sometimes even if you do pay them, they don't get released properly. And so they're still out there lingering on the title because they have a 10-year lifespan if they're not, if a release of the lien isn't recorded. And then judgments can be renewed after the 10-year mark for another 10 years if they still haven't been paid. So they kind of follow people. And they're filed wherever someone owns property because they're trying whoever holds the debt, they're trying to get that money. And I've seen them prevent closing, especially if they're IRS tax liens. They take super priority over even the mortgage getting paid off because the IRS is going to get their money and they will hold up closing in a heartbeat. I have run into lots of cash deals in the last couple of years where the seller, because of whatever kind of business that they had, owe a lot of money in taxes and then sometimes don't really pay on like they should be paying. And all of a sudden, a $12,000 tax lien will show up and they'll be like, oh, I'm in a payment plan. I'm like, well, sorry, you have to pay the rest of it right now at closing because the IRS doesn't allow you to continue on the payment plan at that point. And then just trying to get a payoff from the IRS in the last few years during COVID has been like a 14-day minimum usually to get one. So if you've got a closing that you're trying to do in 14 days, it becomes an issue. So just be prepared for things like that. And sometimes if you're the listing agent, you need to ask those hard questions. Hey, is there anything out there we need to know about? I mean, have you checked your credit recently? Is there anything? And I know that you don't want to have those kind of conversations, but better to find out before closing so it can get taken care of. Because what you run into, and I'll get to this on the title search, is that sometimes you don't have a lot of time between contract and closing to get those things straightened out. So the other thing that you see a lot is just unreleased mortgages. And what that means is the loan might have been paid off, again, not released from the land records. So you're chasing down sometimes mortgage companies that haven't been in business for 20 years and trying to get a release of that lien, or going back to the feds over like savings and loans that haven't been open for 40 years. I did closings in Northern Virginia for a very long time. And those, I can tell you, are a big pain in the neck because they're really hard to track down. So, and then the other things that the liens, mechanics liens. So if a buyer or seller had work done on the property and then didn't pay for it, even though they said they did, something came up because there was a dispute. And the thing that's super important to point out is that with mechanics liens laws in North Carolina, whoever does the work has up to 6 months to record the lien. So seller does work, the house closes, 3 months later, buyer goes to refinance because rates drop. And then all of a sudden, hey, $4,000 lien for flooring that was replaced in the house never got paid. And guess what? The seller is not on the hook for that. The buyer is if they don't have title insurance. So I have had seasoned agents argue with me about that. They're like, that can't possibly be the law. And I'm like, I'm just a messenger. Like, unfortunately, we had a lot of issues in the 80s with builders like not paying their subs. And this is the result of that. So someone had to be liable, and they basically put it on the title insurance companies, but it's important then. That alone, in my opinion, is like one of the best reasons to get title insurance, because you just never know and you can't really trust people. So other things you might see is unpaid property taxes. That's pretty common. Unpaid HOA dues, that kind of thing. And in North Carolina, the HOA or the condo association can foreclose on the property if there are unpaid dues after a certain period of time. So super important that, and those right now, especially during COVID, people weren't paying them. It wasn't a priority. And now people are like owing 2 years of back HOA condo dues, and it's pretty ugly right now. So with some homeowners associations. All righty, next slide. The other hidden risk are claims to ownerships. One of the things that I see every once in a while is a missing heir. Doesn't happen a lot, but you know, if someone passes away and they didn't have any children, but they have 12 nieces and nephews. I had an agent call me last week about one, and they literally have 13 nieces and nephews who have inherited the property. And what you have to do is you actually have to have an addendum an addendum signed by 2 different outsiders who say these are all the heirs and that we know of. We've known this family for 50 years. There are no other heirs out there. And you have to get like 2 disinterested third parties to sign affidavits like that. And it's hard to find in this day and age because people live all over the place, and you don't know. So if you have a lot of heirs, it's easy to miss one. Sometimes people forget about that, that child that didn't really get recognized initially in the family and now is recognized, and those people are heirs. So super important. You rarely see this, but I pointed out bizarrely, sometimes people like forget to have their spouse sign off on a deed, and they go and sell property in North Carolina. Even if you owned the property prior to your marriage, if you go to sell it during your marriage, your wife has to sign the deed and she owns half. And I see people try to like do that, sell it without the proper spouse signatures. So, people are sneaky, especially in divorces. So you just want to be cognizant of that. And then the other thing are invalid deeds. I actually went through this in Northern Virginia on a closing. And sadly, the person who was trying to convey property was no longer mentally competent to sign. I've also had a person come to a closing of mine where they were intoxicated and I couldn't let them sign. And then the other one that you see is if they're a minor, if they're under 18, they're not legally competent to sign a contract. So if that happens by mistake, those deeds are invalid. And so the transfer of ownership is not valid. And so at that point, it would, basically be a huge title problem that would have to be taken care of. So these are the things that aren't usually discovered in a routine title search of the records that the attorney does. So again, why you need title insurance. So, and then there are some standard exclusions and some exceptions to all policies that are kind of mandated by the insurers. And the standard exclusions that you'll most often see are government regulations like zoning. And then, limitations on use. Things like no farm animals on the property. And some of that's, if there's HOAs and condo associations, some of that's taken care of by that. But in other neighborhoods where they don't have HOAs and condo associations, some of that's just a standard exclusion for the property, and you'll see that excluded as well in the policy. And then the exceptions that are super important, and this ties back into the survey, which is why they're super important. People always want to do certain things with their property, and you don't always know what those things are as the agent. I've had situations where people didn't get a survey and wanted to build a huge pool in the backyard, and the septic system was so large, or there was an easement from whoever, the county for water, or for like a power company. There's also a lot of now tree protective areas that you can't build on. So people need to be, and anything like that, if there are easements, there are going to be certain outsiders that have rights to the property. And people who buy homes think, oh, I can just keep whoever off my property. Well, no, if Spectrum comes in and wants to put in a new high, a fiber line on your property, and they have an easement, they can tear up your front yard in a heartbeat. Now they're supposed to fix it, supposed to being the key words there, but they have a right to be on your property and do that work as part of those easements. And then the biggest thing that's also super important, and I always warn agents about that, as the listing agent, you need to be, and the buyer's agent, you need to be pulling the restrictive covenants. And one of the reasons why is because if it comes out that you, as whichever agent, knew that someone's trying to buy this property for a specific type use, and it's prohibited in the restrictive covenants, and they can prove that you knew and didn't tell them, you as the agent are going to be on the hook. And there are a lot more restrictive covenants out there on properties than people realize, and they limit everything from, having a work van parked in front of your house, to no chickens in your backyard, to you can't run a business out of your house, and a lot of those things. And because of, again, I keep saying it, COVID's changed a lot of things, and a lot of people are running more businesses out of their home. It's important. I actually had some folks that I know, it's real popular in the Chinese culture to run these home kitchens out of your house. And these folks actually got in trouble with the neighborhood because there was so much traffic in and out of their house for people picking up, essentially like it was a restaurant, that the neighbors got upset and they started complaining. And then they were like, this is a violation of the restrictive covenants. And, it just causes a lot of heartache after the fact that you could prevent by going through those with your client. And I know this puts a lot of onus on the agent, but again, you have to know a lot as full brokers in North Carolina, that we have a lot of duties to protect our clients. So super important. Okay. So the next one is, again, we've been referencing this since the very beginning. You have to do a title search. The attorney does that in North Carolina. They do a full examination of the public records regarding all those things we've been talking about: deeds, civil court records, because there can be judgments from that. And then, of course, probate. So if someone's passed away, and there are heirs that you need to know about, also the judgment indexes and the tax records. So when the attorney does that, he or she's trying to determine the seller's right to transfer the ownership and look for any claims or errors, or any other burdens or restrictions on the property. And then it can either be a third-party abstractor doing that search, or a lot of times attorneys have their own title searchers or abstractors in-house. That definitely speeds up the process. Because one of the issues that I like to point out to people is if they don't have an in-house abstractor, they are waiting until after the due diligence period to even start the title search. And sometimes that is like a week and a half, 2 weeks before closing. Then they're not even getting the preliminary title opinion to the title company until like a week before closing. And if there's a problem, a week is not very much time to get anything fixed. And we have other attorneys who have their own abstractors who don't have to worry about paying. Their staff's going to get paid whether the file closes or not. So they go ahead and have searches up front, just to try to prevent these errors from happening and mistakes from causing a delay in closing. So if you're looking for an attorney, it might be something you want to ask about, because it can make a difference about whether your closing goes on time or not. But I can't tell you, I felt so bad. We never had this issue in Virginia, DC, and Maryland are title states instead of attorney states. And it was the first thing I ordered was the search, because I always wanted to make sure we got it back, had time to fix any issues. And because I didn't want to be the cause of the delay. So, and then you know how it is. Sellers are supposed to have copies of things like, judgments they paid off and things like that. But we all know how that goes. And if people have packed up to move, it might be in storage somewhere, and then the only recourse you have is getting it from the original, whoever held the judgment, and it just takes a long time. So super important. Title insurance is done, title search is done and done efficiently, so that closing can go on time. So, a lot of times after closing, that's when a claim would be made. It's of course not going to happen until after someone purchased the title insurance. So people always come back to me and they're like, well, what am I supposed to do if my client has a claim? So they'll have a copy of their policy. We'll send it to them, but we always have it if they can't find it. You can always reach out to me. And we actually have a whole database of all of investors' titles, prior policies, because they're our underwriter, and I can always look for it too if it closed with a different office, as long as it's investors. So if a claim's made, the first thing that the homeowner is going to need to do is going to notify in writing with any documentation that they've received about the claim. And then the title company is going to come in and investigate the claim. They're either going to defend a court case, negotiate a settlement, just pay the claim right out if it's obvious, or, as I mentioned earlier, pay legal costs. And it could be some combination of those four things. Usually that's what you see. The good news is that we don't have a lot of major claims, because most of the time we can fix problems, or, claims can be, judgments and things like that can be paid at closing. So we don't have claims. But just as a FYI, these are the things that would happen after the fact, because they're probably going to call you because they're not going to be able to find their policy. And as the agent, they'll probably have kept your name and know you. So if you get those phone calls, you can definitely reach out to us. And then I've been mentioning this before, owner's policy is a one-time premium. Lender's policy you have to pay anytime you refinance. So that's super important to mention to your customer. And then again, title insurance provides long-term coverage against many serious title defects, and you get it for that one-time charge on the owner's policy. So it's very affordable. It's a very easy thing to do. And then, most lenders are requiring it on their loan. So, it makes sense then to get the owner's policy. So, I know that's a lot of information in a very short amount of time, but I'm happy to take any questions. We finished up a few minutes early, so.
No, I think that was great. It was a lot of information, but I'm familiar with it. I used to work in the mortgage industry, so
there you go.
Yeah,
That.
but it's always good to have a refresher.
Yeah, good. So yeah, I felt bad. I did a new agent training about a week and a half ago, and I had some people who gave me blank stares back out in the room, and I felt so bad because I was just doing like a 10-minute introduction. Yeah. And I was like, please come to my class. You really, because they don't teach it anymore in real estate.
They don't.
No.
Mm-hmm.
So it's super important. And like I said, Liz has got all of those materials electronically and hard copies.
I had to mute. It was a lot of background noise here. I didn't want to get you. Yeah. So sorry about that.
No, I appreciate it. I'm surprised my kitty cat came in right before we started. So luckily she disappeared. So, but like I said, in March, we'll have the other class. I think it's on the 23rd, and I'll do a more in-depth version of this. And I also am trying to get those recorded so that I'll send those out as well. So if you don't have time to show up in person that day, a few days afterwards, I try to send out the recording. So, but yeah, well, good deal. Well, congratulations on being a new agent and welcome. So we have a good Keller Williams family here. I'm a referral agent in the Raleigh office. So, yep.
Nice.
Yes. Very good. Well, if you need anything, please reach out to me. Oh, and just real quick, the referral process, super easy. Once you go into contract, on a file, we just ask you send the contract, when you're sending that initial email to the closing attorney, just
Mhm.
CC our office, and the email is info@heritagetitlellc.com.
Heritage Title LLC.
LLC.com.
Perfect.
And if you CC us, we'll look for that prior policy. It gives the client up to a 50% discount on their new policy, which saves them even more money. And we have a huge market share in North Carolina, about 40% with investors. So we'll, there's a good chance that we'll have it. And then we'll provide it right back to the closing attorney, and they never have to look for it on their own. It saves them time on the search, and it saves your client money. So super important. So yeah, just loop us in, and that's all you have to do. So, alrighty.
Yay.
Have a great afternoon. And
Thank you,
I
Carla.
will talk to you guys soon. Take care.
Thanks, Carla. Have a good one.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And thank you too, Andrea. You have a
You're
great rest of
welcome.
your
Use your
day.
microphone.
I know. Yeah. Bye, guys.
If there's any questions that you got for me, Andrea, just let me know. But yeah,
I will. Thank you so much.
of course, thank you so much for being here and for staying through the whole thing. So I appreciate that.
Of course.
Well, you have a great rest of your day, and
You
I
too.
look forward to hearing from you soon.
Will. Thank you.
Yep, no problem. Bye.
Bye.